we discussed about Bootstrap collapse, how to use collapse in Bootstrap. So we learned about Bootstrap collapse and accordion. We used this accordion and how to work with the accordion I showed you. So this is accordion and how to design such accordion. We discussed about that, right? Next, after understanding this, now another important, how we can deal and work with drop downs. So how we can work with Bootstrap drop down, how to deal with Bootstrap drop downs. Actually, HTML drop down, HTML drop down is designed. Drop down is designed with the select. HTML drop down is designed with select, right? Always use select for designing drop downs. So Bootstrap drop down, so always use HTML drop down for manipulations and dynamic list. If you want to handle manipulations and dynamic list, always you have to go with, always it is important to go with this HTML only. Use always select. So use drop down. So always, right? Always use Bootstrap drop down. Bootstrap drop down only for always use Bootstrap drop down for navigation and designing toolbar. That means if you are planning for adding items, removing items, and based on selection item to perform several functionality, then don't go with Bootstrap. Only for navigation, Bootstrap drop downs are good. If you are not dealing with navigation, then use HTML only. That means use always select. So if you are doing manipulation like adding items, removing items, and on selection from any functionality, such things, then better you go with working with HTML. If only navigation, then better go with this Bootstrap dropdown. So because Bootstrap dropdown is a combination of Bootstrap dropdown is designed with div and anchor elements. So it is a combination of div and anchor elements. So always use this for that. So for navigation type, you can find and define. So how to design Bootstrap drop downs? So what are all the classes required for Bootstrap drop down? let's so classes required for Bootstrap drop down. So we are having some important classes like dot drop down, and we have dot drop down menu, drop down menu. We have drop down item, drop down item. We have drop down item, right? So drop down menu, and drop down item. So we also have a drop down divider, a drop down divider. So how we can use a drop down divider? Yeah, we can define the drop down colors with bg color or text color like attributes. Bg color and text color like attributes. So drop down is mostly dependent on colors and all. One more important class we can use is, so that is a drop down toggle. So that is for toggling the drop down, right? So we can add some additional effects. That is just directions. We can add some directions, animations. We can use drop right. That means it tells where the menu should appear. We can use drop left. That means left side drop down, right side drop down. By default, drop down items will be down. You can make it left, make it right, according to the situation. And we can also use a drop down item text. So drop down item, for a drop down item we can use a drop down item text. So if you want to give a special appearance for the items text, and of course we also have menu alignment for drop downs. Menu alignment means we can give drop down menu right, drop down menu left, like options we can define, right? So drop down menu, right left options also available. So we can use drop down menu left, and we can use drop down menu right. Drop right, drop left, that is animation. Menu symbol right or left we can keep by using drop down menu left and right. So these are general things that we generally use for drop downs. So let's create a simple drop down and see how this drop down works. And important, to use the drop downs we need to understand about how to deal with the jQuery related options, jQuery attributes and options. How do we define the jQuery related options? jQuery options for drop down. What are the jQuery options? jQuery options are nothing but button related options. button related options, they just use two important jQuery attributes. jQuery attributes. So we use two important jQuery attributes. One is data toggle, and data target. Data target is not required every time. Majority we use data toggle. So for drop downs we use data toggle. So let's see how these are designed. How to create drop downs. These are mostly for working with navigation bars. So let's see how we can handle them. So first, data toggle, data target already we used in previous examples. So let's add a new one, dropdown.html, and in the head section we need a link relation style sheet, and link href is equal to, so node modules bootstrap dist css bootstrap.css. Okay, we need a script source is equal to node modules jQuery dist jQuery.js, and we need a script source node modules bootstrap dist js bootstrap bundle.js. These three are required. Okay, now in the body section, so div class container, and here we are defining the drop down. That means here we will just design a menu bar. If you remembered, we discussed about div class is equal to btn group. I will use btn toolbar. Temporarily we know button toolbar. In this div we will have a class called btn group. Okay, and bg danger, I am adding that. Okay, now here we are having some link relation is equal to, so link relation is equal to style sheet, and href is equal to, so node modules, not node modules directly, we have fonts. We have fonts in that css all.css, that is font awesome. Already we discussed about that. And here I am adding a div. This is having a span and a class fa and fa home. That is the option, and that we will keep in a button. So button, so, and here we have home. Okay, so class as btn and btn danger. So that is home. And in the toolbar above or below here toolbar, I am defining some heading, some Naresh I, or say Amazon shopping. Okay. So this is a simple design. Already we are having a toolbar like design, like we are having a toolbar like design. This Amazon shopping, I will keep it here in the container shopping. Okay, that keeps this. Now that is home. Then beside it, beside this button, I want to add a simple div. Here I want to add a simple div. I'm adding a simple div here. Okay. This div, we will define a class as drop down. This is a drop down. Okay. In the drop down, we will put a as BTN and BTN danger. Okay. And here we will attach drop down toggle. We will give drop down toggle. That means for this we are adding a drop down toggle. Toggle means it will on and off the drop down. It is used to on and off the drop down. And here I am defining some category. Here I am defining some category. Suppose I am adding here, choose a category. Choose a category. So that is the button. Okay, drop down have a button. It is not completed. Lot of options are there. And I will refresh here. You can see choose a category. It comes here. Right. This is choose a category, a button, like a drop down. So this drop down should contain on and off. First we need to create some items inside it. So you have to design a drop down in that button. Okay. After the button, in the drop down, we need to design a div. This div contains drop down menu. This contains drop down menu. It contains drop down menu. Okay. And inside the drop down menu, we will have drop down items. So I'm giving anchor, and this anchor is having a class as drop down item. It is drop down item, and it will have href. You can give any file. Initially we are not giving any file because we are just designing a menu. This anchor is a drop down item, and here we will simply keep an anchor, that is electronics. Another anchor class, this is another drop down item, and href hash, and this is footwear. So another class, this is another drop down item, and href hash, this is some fashion. Okay. Now I will put here, when you are designing the items, you can keep a separator for items. You can add a div. In the div class, you can use drop down divider. Divider is nothing but a separator will come. A separator will come. After the divider, you can add some more items. Anchor, it will have a class. This is a drop down item. This is drop down item, and href is equal to hash. Some watches like this. Like some more options we are defining. An anchor class is equal to drop down item, and href I defined as some sunglasses. Glasses. Okay. Now I save this and refresh. That's items are there, but those items should open when user clicks the button. That means when user clicks this button, it should toggle this drop down. That means it should open the menu, close the menu. Then what we do is here we have to add jQuery attribute data toggle. Data toggle. What should toggle? Drop down should toggle. We have to define data toggle as drop down. And I click on this, it has to open that menu. You can see the menu items are present. So I click on the menu, then it will be hidden. I again click on that, the drop down items will come. Items will come. So again click, it will be hidden. It depends on what you defined here, right? So drop down menu, actually suppose we are adding a class and suppose BG danger, we are adding that effect here. And I click, those will come in this way, BG danger, and we have text white, and it will give that effect here to that elements. Text white we need to, not for this entire, for every element we need to give again. So actually what we have done is we return for separate anchor element. For every anchor you have to use text white, because these are all links. You know that links should have a separate effect. Font color will not work for them. If you are displaying normal text, it will be. For links, how we define, usually we have to keep a style above, and anchor will have a link, and color as some white. Such appearance you have to give. If I given that clickable option also, then it will work. You can see that now white color will come. If it is ordinary text, we can directly apply, but they are link colors. How to apply already we know, right? Then we can apply that effect and display here. So a drop down menu contains collection of items. Of course, if those categories related options are there, you can open them below and display. Already you know that now. So how we can get that and display here, so that we can manage by using iframes. By using iframe, you can get that and display. Without iframes, other navigation techniques are there, which you will learn later. But how to display those below? I click electronics, electronics should come. I click shows should come, right? So then how we can manage them? How we can display them? That's important. Link colors you can change. So link colors, already I told you now, visited color link and active color links, how to change and configure. Link target, you can put the pages, you can put a frame below, and when user clicks on that, the content should be displayed in the below frame. That is secondary part. Here the main concept is how we can create a drop down and how we can keep the drop down appeared on menu with a menu. So when you are designing the drop downs, so there are important points to remember always is when you are creating drop downs and options, make sure that you are not using this drop down for dynamically handling manipulation. Dynamically handling manipulation means adding a new item, removing the item. On selection, it should do some functionality instead of navigation. Such things avoid using here. Here only use this for simple navigation. That is enough. You always use for simple navigation. So it is good for navigation. It is good for navigation only, not for adding and removing. And when you are designing drop down and drop down items, how we can disable, how we can enable, how we can make active any specific item, those are all general basic points. What we can do is here jQuery option is simple. We have to just use data toggle. And suppose I am removing this BG danger and I am removing this style for links because they will have their own default appearance. So by default, they have their own appearance here. By default, they have their own appearance here. We have options like for any drop down item, I can keep a class, this class as active. That means whenever I click on drop down, that watches will be active. So you can make any specific look active. Suppose I want to disable that sunglasses, then we can use disabled, so that that will be in a disabled style. Right? This is in a disabled style. Disable means user cannot select it. Fashion, footwear, others can be selected. This is disabled, this is active, right? And drop down menu. So suppose I am giving drop down menu left or right. Drop down menu left or right I am giving. The point is very simple here. If I am giving drop down menu left or right and I want to use left or right, then usually this should be a combination of buttons. So not a combination of links. If you have to keep the alignment to right, keep the alignment to left, then usually you have to use buttons. So not the text. So not the links. If you give buttons instead of links, then this appearance will affect. Drop down menu left, drop down menu right, it will affect. That you have to apply for the button groups that you are designing. So that means you can give a left and right menu appearances. But for that we need a button group. In the button group, we have to use buttons. So then it will be better in appearance. So that means not generally for links you have to use for buttons. I will show that point also. Initially, this is only for navigation. How you are defining for navigation. Okay. I will copy this and give this example. This is an example. for drop down example. When to use data target, generally if you are using button, for button you use data toggle. For link, you have to use data target. For link, we have to use data target. You know that already I explained. Now, how we can keep these combinations, alignments, and placements, how to define them? Drop left, drop right, like options means symbol only, icons can be changed. This is an example for general drop down, right? Let's see another way how we can manage that. So I am removing this. I am creating another file. This is a new copy, and I will say drop down direction .html. Okay, let's add another file. Head section is same, no change in the head section. In the body section, this time I will put a div class container, and this time when we are designing drop down, so Amazon shopping. Okay, when I am designing the drop down, this time we will use a button group directly. So we will use a div, and we will put a class for the div. Already we used BTN group. So this is a button group, right? In the button group, so we are having a button. So this button will have a class as BTN and BTN danger like class. And here I will say this is like some left menu. Okay. Now here what we need to do is under this button we are creating the drop down menu. So like this we have defined. So I am adding a drop down menu here. That means keep a div and a class as a drop down menu. Drop down menu. We are defining drop down menu. Okay. Now in the drop down menu, we need to put all the menu related links, drop down menu related links. So that means whatever the links we need to keep that. So under that we need drop down items now. We need to configure and define the drop down items. This is general button group with the menu, right? And how to configure the elements inside that. So how to configure the elements inside it, right? And how to define the elements inside it. Usually what we need to do is we have to use the class. This is a button group, and for the button group we can add an option as a drop left. We can use like drop left. Button group is given with a drop left. So when you are designing a button group, you have to define drop left like this. That means it has to get a drop down left. But still we don't have any items inside that. We need to keep the toggle options and we need to keep the split options for that. Let's see how we can define that. Right. So drop left, drop right requires a combination. You can even drop up and down also you can define. Okay. Now the items must be defined inside it. And we need to configure the items. Let's create some items into the drop down. So in the drop down menu, we will add some drop down menu links. Right. So how we can define drop down menu links? We have to use an anchor and a href, right? Or we can even create buttons for that. For every option you have to configure a button, and for every option we have to define a button. That means instead of anchors we can use buttons, but buttons requires toggle related attributes to define. We need toggle related attributes to define. Here I'm not using any anchor, means you have to use button toggle. If you are using anchor, then you need two options. One is data target, another one is data target and data. What else is required? Data toggle. We need to configure these two options. Okay, let's go here. Now this is design. Here we can add some menu items. I will add the menu items later. This is drop down lift. Okay. Actually, we are using a div and a class as btn. We are using btn group, button group. Inside the button group, we are using a div, and we have the group and the group options. There are two methods of defining. Actually, left split, right split means they will come separated buttons. I will give you that split separately. That means actually left right can be displayed in two ways. For that we need to understand drop down. So when you are designing drop down, the left symbol will be like this, and you can design it in two ways. Actually, how we can design in two ways? To design in the two ways, you need a combination. So that means one is you can split this button from ordinary text. Then what user has to do is you can put your text here. Then what user can do is user can click only on here. User can click on this area, user can click. You can put without split also we can keep. So without split also we can keep. If I keep without split, then user can click anywhere inside this text. Like two options are there. We have to configure those two options, right? Okay. So this is many related options we need to configure. Suppose what I am doing is that toggle will happen, drop left we are giving, and this drop down menu same like previous. So we will keep a div. First we will keep it as a drop down, and in that we have a div. So we have a class as a drop down menu, and drop down menu. Okay, and here we are adding items. That means anchor, we will use href and hash, and this is a class, that is a drop down item. Drop down item. Okay, that's how we are configuring. Here we defined as suppose electronics. Okay, and other options we are configuring here. So these are all drop down items: electronics, some footwear, and fashion, something like this. Fashion like this. So that is the drop down menu. And inside this drop down menu, by default we given as drop left. We can use the drop down menu combination like drop down menu left or right also. So initially that is the drop down combinations we designed. Then here in this combination, actually top left, top right option should come. So this is a drop down in the button group, and this drop down should be displayed with the drop down menu as a drop down menu left or right combination we have to define. Now if you write like this, one more important option is you have to write a logic, means you have to maintain the logic in a correct way so that the items will be displayed in right direction or left direction. That means these points are not enough. What we need to do is we need to create another layout where it should allow to display left and right combination. I will show you. So how to define that? Right, let's see how we can define this. That means when you are designing the drop downs, the layout of the drop down also should be similar so that it will support left and right. Right. If you are not defining left and right combination, so drop up, drop down, drop left, like that, what is the problem you will face is, means alignments will not be correct. Alignments will not be correct. So to make the alignments correct, the toolbar also should be in the same way. It should be in the same way. Let's see, I will show you how we can do that. Right, that means the symbol and option should be correctly defined. Okay, let's see that. What is the button group we defined? The button group we have defined as left or right. The menu should appear, symbol icons should come. Let's see. For that, actually what we need to do is we have to use drop left or right like options. You can use drop up, down also like options. Up, down like options also. But combination should be correctly defined in a menu style. Let's do one thing. We will keep width and height in a correct way. So that means I will remove this logic. I will just show you in a simple way. Means width and height should be correctly mentioned. That's the point we will see. First step, what we have to do, we have to take a div. In the div, we need to put a class. And here, you have to define in which direction you want dropped. Is it up, left, right? Simple ways we will use. Suppose I want drop up. That means we are defining drop. Okay. Now in this we need a button. Okay, what should button have? So as BTN and BTN danger. Okay, and drop down toggle. Drop down toggle. Okay, that's fine. And another important, for button we will give some text. So drop, suppose simply like choose category. Category. Okay. Now under this, we need to design a symbol. Symbols are very much important to configure the options. They are very important. Actually, which symbol you want for the button? Up direction, left direction, down direction symbols we want. Later I will tell you about symbol. What I will do here, icons are there now, already font awesome is there now. We can apply that. But Bootstrap also have, I am defining a span. So in the span, we can use font awesome symbol. We can use font awesome symbol, or we can use a simple class, as we have a class called caret. So caret, you can use caret symbol. Actually this caret symbol is not available in all versions of Bootstrap. Actually, the caret symbols will keep upside direction. You can see simple up cape. That means you can just define that up direction for that caret. Up direction for that. You can use font awesomes also. Font awesome has symbols direction left, right, up, down, like directions are there. You can configure them. And if you want to keep items inside it, then how do we define items inside it? So we need to define the items for that under the button. So that is a drop up. Under the button, what we need to do is we need to create a list of items. How we can create a list of items? We can create a drop down menu. You can even use unordered list. For this, I will give a class, unordered list class. We are defining drop down menu. We are adding drop down menu. Okay. Now in this drop down menu, we need some items. So we have to define the items list item. So anchor, and this is like, so electronics. So another list item. So that is like anchor, some footwear. It depends on your layout, means how you want to design it. Completely depends on the layout. Suppose some fashion. Okay. And all these are items. By default, you can consider them as items. Href is equal to hash, and href is equal to hash. Actually, these are considered as class as drop down item. Drop down item. So that means they use the class drop down item. You can individually combination define, or you can keep in a list also here. Now, important here is how we can make this toggle. Data toggle should work for drop down. Data toggle should work for drop down. Right? How we can keep this data toggle for drop down? Just what we have to do is, so you know that it has to use an attribute. This button has to use an attribute. What is the attribute for this? So we just keep an attribute, data toggle. We need to keep data hyphen toggle. Data toggle, it has to toggle the drop down. It should toggle the drop down. So we define drop down as data toggle. We have to create drop down as data toggle. So this is the basic point. So the directions that you have configured are important. The directions that you configured are important, right? Usually, how we can keep the symbols direction above display here, right? That you can keep this. But important is this should appear up or down or left or right. The menu should go up or left or right. If you need to design such, that means the menu should go up or down. If you need to design that, usually what happens is your layout should support that. Layout means there must be some space so that it can go up direction and it can select up. There should be some direction to go left and right and select. So if you have to keep it, you can change its animation direction also. Animation direction means you can make it go up, so you can make it go down or left or right. Here we just learned how to create a symbol for it, and we can even change the direction for this. So changing the direction requires the options to define. Suppose this is submit button. What is the type of the button? Button type we given as button. Okay. Now what is that drop up? We have configured drop up. Why it is not going up? Because for that we need to create a menu like which so that it can show it upside direction. For that we will learn how to create a sample layout for this entire process. One layout, if we design, in the layout we can see all the directions happening. Means drop up direction, drop down directions, we can configure them. So to understand this drop up, drop down directions, we need to create a layout correctly. If the layout is correct, then we can easily handle the direction, right? So here just what we designed is how we can keep the symbols correctly. After the symbol, how we can change its direction also, we will see that. How do we work with the direction and use with the direction? Because if I use the class drop down item now, drop down items usually always come below only. Suppose I will remove this drop down item and remove this drop down item. I'm just using anchor href and some attributes here. I click on that. You can see the item style is not there. They will appear like links, right? Which direction that we will decide. That means we will design another layout to handle the direction. We can use many directions. We can use drop up. We can use like drop left. But remember the drop up, drop left. So you can see left symbol will come here. The drop down will come left. We can change the direction here. Drop right. I'm changing the direction. That caret symbol will changing the direction like this. Now the menu comes here, right? That means according to the content availability and placements, whether to appear below, whether to appear right side, it depends on that. So you see the caret symbol is changing now. How the caret symbol is changing? Caret symbol is changing according to our drop direction here. Suppose I say drop left. So that means it will be in a left direction here. And drop down menu I'm giving as here drop down menu left. An option is there, drop and give for this. So what we are doing here, we are adding class as drop down item. Drop down item. I'm using drop down item class here, and keep all the drop down item classes for everything. Okay. Drop down menu left, drop left. These are the options defined. And I click on that, it will come like this. So here, when you are clicking on that, you can see its appearance. Suppose I want to change the direction. I want to change the direction. Then simply I can change it to drop as right. Drop. You can drop right will come like this, and it will get the options in this way. And according to that, we can even change this to drop menu as right. But remember, you can keep an animation also. Animation means when I click on that, the menu can appear right side, the menu can appear left side, the menu can appear up, the menu can appear down. The direction also we can control. But in order to control the direction, what we need is we need a correct toolbar to design. That we will do. How to design a toolbar so that we can change the direction. So how to change the direction for drop downs? Means drop down menu symbols, right? Left, because sometimes we design one below another. Then we need right menu. That means categories, subcategories, then we need one below another. So we will use a button group also. How to define a button group and use a button group, we have to understand about that. So this is drop right. That is how we are defining. There can be multiple categories. Multiple categories means, suppose I copied that in a container. I kept another one. For example, these are belonging to suppose electronics. These are belonging to electronics. So in that electronics, we are defining as some TV. So we are defining as TV. We are defining as mobile, like this. We are defining as mobile. So we are defining as watch. Okay. And another category here, this is defined as suppose footwear. So in that we are designing another option. So footwear, and here we are designing another option. So that means like shoes, casuals. So like boots, right? Like this, boots. So like running, some sneakers. Okay. And you can see the menu appearances. The menu will be like this. Actually, to keep them in a perfect way, already, if you remember, we can keep this in a perfect way. Actually, what we have to do is we have to keep all of them, the entire set. We have to keep them in a div class as BTN group. In a button group, we have to keep them. And not only button group, we can give a button toolbar also. And we know button group can be defined as BTN group, BTN hyphen group vertical. Button group vertical we define, then it will be like this. We can keep all this button group inside a button toolbar actually. That means this all button group can be kept in a div, and that div can be defined as BTN toolbar. We can give a BTN toolbar. So BG danger. In the button toolbar, we are having a combination of this. Then it will be like this. We know how to adjust the width of that. Means according to the situation, right? Suppose I am defining here style, and in the style BTN toolbar, toolbar, and width of the button toolbar is some 200 pixel. We can even define for the container also how much we want, and the menus will come like this. The menus will display like this, right? How to create a proper menu placements and everything we will discuss later, but just I am telling you the situation how to handle it, right? This is about how we can design drop downs, and always use this drop down. This is another example for drop down. Always use drop downs only for navigation. This is another example for drop down only for navigation. Don't use for manipulations. Manipulations in JavaScript, jQuery, we need lot of manipulations. For them we will use select, not this one. How to display that select with the effects, that you will see later how to handle that. So this is one simple example of creating a drop down. We will create some layouts later and see how we can use that. Now some more effects are there that we will discuss in the next session, right? Tomorrow is no session. Again on Monday we will see that. Okay, thank you.